Well, it's 8:30, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes from May 16th.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes from May 16th, 2024. Any further discussion on them? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carried. Okay, public comment. Any public comment today?
I do, actually.
Okay.
So,
It's limited to agenda items, remember, so,
well aware.
okay.
So, do you mind following up on all your minutes? I just wanna make sure. I'll give it right back.
Oh, they're kind of hard to read because I printed them on colored paper.
That's okay. Well, I guess the main practice is on here, so, and that is about the addition to, and the, handicap update, which is what I have something to say about, so. So last time we were here and people got up and talked about, the ADA access, and, it was said, well, that must have been, done afterwards. Last time anything was done to ADA was 2012. The shelter was built well after that. And so that is not something that should have been left off. I wanna be clear that Dawn was not here, was not involved in that. This has nothing to do with her, and I know that most of you were not on this board at that time. However, that has been coming up multiple months in a row and still has not been addressed and or done. And that is something that is required under the law. So I would like to see some progress moving on that so that people who are handicapped can get into the building, without assistance and be able to be independent. You had multiple people here talking about it, it is, definitely something that needs to move ahead and not need to wait until everything else that's want to be built and stuff, because that is the law, that is what should have happened. I know, again, most of you were not on this board at that time, but you have been made aware and it has been months. So, I guess, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, any other public comment? Okay, then I'll close public comment. David, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, we have him on. It's a little bit early, but I think we will go ahead and switch to the meeting right now, since that's the next item on the agenda anyhow. So good morning. Thanks for joining us, and we're looking forward to getting some fundraising ideas and everything, and we sent out the email that you sent that had the three other connections, for possibilities, that three other ones that were done, and then we had Jim's his one page thing that because he wasn't gonna be here, that he had put something about like 100 women or something like that. He had sent his comments. So those were sent out to all the committee members. So I guess I'll turn it over to you to start with, and then we've got a bunch of people with wanting to answer questions, but let's start with you first.
Okay, well, the most recent project I probably worked on with fundraising was the Merrill Hills Historical Society. And we went through different phases of projects with them as far as additions and whatever, but one of the things they did was some naming rights. They also did granite plaques with engraving, with a wall on the exterior of the building. So there's a lot of opportunities as far as smaller gifts as well as larger gifts, and that's what I was trying to show with those three links. I think the one that's most interesting is how to raise money for your animal sanctuary, which is a little bit different, but it had a lot of good ideas as far as, naming rights, different ways people can give from the higher amounts to the lower amounts. One of the things I always found interesting was, the railroad museum over in Green Bay. We joined when our kids were young, and they had actually an artist do a rendering or a print of a different train in that case, and then had memberships and raising money that way. And then it was a numbered print signed that you would receive the same number each year. So that was an opportunity in which, I guess, a continual fundraising campaign was for operations and overall improvements. So there's a lot of opportunities as far as how to involve people in the community, how to involve businesses in possible in-kind donations, or monetary, and get people involved in the Humane Society. I guess, have you discussed any of the fundraising opportunities that might be available in the county or the immediate vicinity?
We haven't done anything specific yet. We have the FRACUS, which is the Friends of the Rusk County Animal Shelter, who have done some fundraising, but it's been, quite limited. I think they were waiting to see what you had come up with and to get other ideas. We've talked about in general terms, but nothing, specific to go out, because the amount, to raise for this is quite a lot. And so, and again, we don't have major corporations or, like some of these things like you were talking about for the animal sanctuary and everything, where you've got a great big, extensive network and things like that. We don't have that up here, and so it'd be more of the smaller stuff and everything, although we did just get some money from from an estate that can be used for something like that too, but a lot of this would have to be raised. So, and it's something that we want to get going on or to do, because we don't want this to stretch out for 10 years, because then the cost will have doubled or tripled by then too, and things like that.
Yeah, and I could use the, talk about a little bit about what we did in Merrill, which was a similar situation as far as they didn't believe they could raise over $1 million for their facility. And so we went into a phasing of the project, building smaller ADA accessibility items, but by the time they finished fundraising, they had the entire project. But what happened was a lot of education in the community, going out to different organizations, presenting the project, telling the story of why this is needed, how it will improve the community or assist in dealing with, the increased populations of dogs and cats, and how to get them adopted, the process. So I think that could be a valuable tool to start moving forward, is to start the education process, to get the community involved. They had ice cream socials, something that brought people into the facility to see the conditions and what they were trying to achieve. So I guess that might be the first step, is telling the story. And then I guess looking at who might be interested in assisting with the project, who might have a passion for doing something like this. But there's a lot of ways you can get smaller donations. You can do what the brick campaigns or something with naming rights to different parts of the facility. Things like that, involving community organizations that would assist in fundraising.
Go ahead. Yeah, feel free to, anyone feel free to ask questions for David as we're going through this.
So David, somewhere in that information that we reviewed prior to this Zoom session, I read where, I believe it said, the wording was, there was a possibility that there may be state grants available, and also that there
Yeah.
actually are federal grants available. So can you expound on that a little bit?
Well, you know, they mentioned about grants and the possibility of raising grants for this purpose, knowing that, the animal shelters and the way animals are served through the community, that's a difficult situation to raise funds for. And there's different organizations, especially if they're associated with providing services or, I guess, resources for taking care of the different animals. Those are possible, I guess, sources of funding. So those could be evaluated as far as, how to write grants for those. And then look at other sites as far as, that's one thing I was doing, I was going through different animal shelter sites and looking at the different capital campaigns. I think there are a lot of them out there. There are a lot of, that they're looking throughout the nation for money to do facility additions, cause it's a huge, undertaking to add on or add to a facility. So I think that's an opportunity to look at. And see what the requirements are for those grants. Some are devoted to more operational, others are devoted towards facilities.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you have any, pictures that you could give us of the new plan that could be put on our website or our Facebook or given to Fracas, like they could say, we're starting to raise money, this is the plan, and then so people can see what the addition would look like?
Yeah, we could put together information as far as what's usually put out there is a floor plan, rendering of what it will be.
Just so they can look at it
along
and,
with- Yeah, I think one of the examples that I gave, I think the Cape Coral Animal Shelter or whatever, it's showing some, that's something to look at as far as how to present the project, that people can find out more information about it, along with those images and whatever, a narrative of why this is needed.
and I'm working on the why.
Okay. Telling the story, there's one that does a video, it's a very good, presentation about what is happening, why they are needed, and done to show what the services are being provided. And that was fairly, simple, but that's in one of the examples that I had given.
When you mentioned that ice cream social thing, that was another point that was brought up that I read, where they had like open houses, which, could be turned into a social, ice cream social, whatever, to get people in there, so people could actually see, the shortcomings of our shelter, so they understand why we are, trying to add on and, make the shelter better.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important, is, letting people see, get involved, interact, with the shelter. A lot of people probably have not been to the shelter, and and still have an interest in, their own, pets that they take care of. So that is definitely a good way of introducing the project to the community. And we did that quite a few times with Merrill, as far as that historical society. Out on the lawn there was, with presentations. And they did do some, did have, I think, they had different pies and ice cream and whatever, and it became a very social event of open discussion about what's happening.
Go ahead and ask questions, just go ahead and
Okay,
ask.
my name's Paula, and I'm with Friends of the Animal Shelter, and I was wondering, is there a resource where we could go and look for like the names of foundations or companies that do provide donations or grants to animal shelters, or is it we just have to sit down with the internet and go animal shelter by animal shelter and ask them where they got their money?
That might be, I know when I was looking through and for other organizations, there's really not one source that lists all of the foundations that donate to a specific cause. But going to different websites, even different animal shelters, you can start to put together that list. And I think it might be good to talk, to listen to other animal shelters. If they've had a fundraising campaign or see it online, maybe contact them. And just discuss how they went about it. And were they successful?
Don't forget that we have Walmart here. Walmart will, it will jump on the bandwagon. So I already got a grant from Walmart, it's small, but it's better than nothing. But you guys being an actual nonprofit, because we're a municipality, so I can't get as much from them as you can. But I will give you the information, the manager over there, Walmart will help. And you would, because you're nonprofit, you'd be able to even do the roundup at Walmart, where you go to the cash register and they round up for like Children's Hospital, or they won't do that for the shelter because we're not nonprofit, but they will do that for you guys. And they have tons of grants. It's just a matter of, the only reason I didn't get the full grant I asked for is because it's like in the middle of the year and they only are allowed so much. So if I probably would have asked, earlier, I probably could have got more.
What was the grant for?
It's for the new building fund, specifically.
How much?
It was 1,500, so, but they do have a lot. And you probably can do, at Walmart, a lot of organizations, nonprofits sell hot dogs, they do all kinds of stuff there for nonprofits. So, but to do the roundup thing at the register, that has to go through corporate, and you have to be a nonprofit to do that, but that is something, and they are willing to do, if I'll give you, what's the manager over there? And I do have a couple other resources, I did talk to the Northern Tier, they're right in the middle of doing grant things, so they can't give us a grant at the moment, they didn't say they wouldn't, but we need to get a little more information for them before they can start. But she did give me a bunch of ideas on the why, the how, looking into state grants, federal grants, PetSmart Charities does grants, I've hooked up with Maddie's fund, I'm gonna try to hook up with Best Friends. It's just, I don't sit at my computer all day, so I have to do this kind of, send an email here, send an email there, make a phone call here. So it's kind of, everything's coming in, but there are a lot of grants, there's Wisconsin Federated, there's American Humane, that are all willing to give grants, it's just, it takes time, to get through and get a plan. So I've got some ideas, our mission statement needs to be changed. That will be, I'm bringing that up at the next meeting, cause it's, any of you know what the mission statement is?
Take care of critters.
Yeah.
It's got something in one line that is, I don't know who put it in there, but it's not, it says something, dispose of the ones, and that is a horrible word to use, dispose.
Where is this located?
I only found one copy of it on,
A letterhead or something, or?
nope, it's not anywhere in any of our paperwork. I just happened to find a sheet that said mission statement. In some of the old stuff, that's probably one of the only old paperworks I actually found. And that mission statement is also on we are partners with Best Friends, and it's on there. And that's the first time I saw it, and I'm like, oh my God, and then I found it, but something like disposing of the animals, we cannot, and that's horrible, you can't write that in there. So I have to get a hold of Best Friends so that they can change that, but we have to come up with something, and I do have some ideas on, a mission statement, a purpose, cause when you apply for grants, they wanna know your mission statement, they wanna know your purpose, and they also wanna know, why we need to do this, and, there is a shelter veterinarians organization, for shelter veterinarians, and they put these guidelines together, and I have that on my desk, of what shelters are supposed to meet, and a lot of those, like American Humane and, the Northern Tier Shelter Program, you have to, you have to meet some of these qualifications for you to get grants. But obviously, the reason we need to add, the space is because we are not meeting some of those guidelines that shelters are supposed to meet. And that is why that addition needs to be built. You're not supposed to have everybody stuffed in a room like that. There's guidelines that you're supposed to follow.
Wasn't there one that, I don't know if you mentioned or somebody did that, for the grant though, that you had to have like 2 full-time employees?
Some of them, yeah, so
Like
it kinda depends, so you have to meet.
So that's what we've been working for a long time.
So, yeah, there's some guidelines, but obviously if you can prove that you're not meeting the standards of care, which we are, everybody's getting care, but there should be, a sick room, there should be, and there's not. So that's just kind of the things, and that's why we wanna add, is to get, we get one sick cat, and the ventilation is the way it is, it's hard to keep, no matter how many times you wash your hands or change your clothes or try to be careful, it's very hard in that building to stop any kind of, upper respiratory we've gotten very lucky this year. I've gotten one sick cat in, and that was yesterday.
Go
I
ahead.
have a question for David while we have him on the line, is, what do you need from us to, facilitate you guys putting together a pamphlet or getting us those pictures? What, because if you need something from us to do that, or maybe you don't, you have enough information that you could just deliver a pamphlet and, a picture in the floor plan and that kind of thing.
But I think the objective, and maybe I can share, what we did for Merrill, was to tell the story, and that's essentially what Dawn was talking about, as far as why this is needed, what the improvements will be made. All of that information should be in that initial, packet that might go out to different organizations or be used as a guide on telling the story of why this animal shelter expansion should happen. I think that's an important step, so I'd recommend doing that first and putting those even if you did bullet points or whatever of all those issues, then getting that into some type of, fundraising booklet. One of the things they did was, what's always recommended is some type of slogan or something for the fundraising campaign, to give it a name.
Tagline, like a tagline?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so then basically, we would come up with the information to go on a pamphlet and come up with a pamphlet or whatever, and what we could get from you would be the photos. Or the
Floor plan.
schematic design of the floor plan and what the outside of the building would look like.
Yeah, we can do that, as well as some other information that goes along with that, how to address your needs. It should be a kind of a program of what your needs are, why you're doing it, explanation, how it will serve the community, all the front end narrative, and then how you're going to solve that, with this project. We're gonna address accessibility, we're gonna address, the need for separating the cats from the dogs, you know, address other needs on the site. So those are how we solve it, but we gotta tell why we need it, and then share that with people. And that can be used to go out to different service organizations who might be interested in assisting. It can be used to give out to corporate entities, such as for grants or whatever, so that would be the first step, is telling that story.
I think, David, in the stuff that you sent before, you already have most of that stuff, like the floor plan and the outside of the building, the schematic drawings and things like that. You already have that, right? And have sent along.
Yeah, what we do is format it, to get it into a, presentation format that
Right.
you can drop into a pamphlet. Work with captions or different things that share that information. Then I can assist with putting it, assisting with the booklet and looking at how that all goes together. But that would be, I think, definitely a good way to start. So everyone has the same information.
I have a question for you guys. So if I come up with something like, say, a new mission statement or purpose or a tagline, I'm guessing that has to, I wouldn't be able to do that unless it has to be approved by you guys.
Right.
So that's a whole nother month.
Well, I noticed, I think in one of the things that you sent us is something like the campaign was something like raise the roof, raise the wolf.
Yeah.
You know,
There's a lot of people do that, yeah.
something, along those type lines.
They have dinners,
Mm-hmm.
spaghetti dinner, no balls, something like that.
Neutered spaghetti?
Yeah, spaghetti with no ball, that's how they say it.
Neutered spaghetti, but it's also.
Okay, any more questions or on this? I think, and I think, David, what you were talking about too is that, if Dawn's looking at these other organizations or for grants and everything, and they list, what it's for or what the need is and everything, that can be worked into why we need it. They list like, what you need this, this, and this really in order to get the grant. Well, we don't have that, so that's one of the points that you would state that, well, that's what we're going after.
Right, and I'll go by the guidelines, cause
Right.
that, shelter veterinarians, a lot of shelters, that's like a standard. So, if they see that, and I just have to go through it, what your minimum, guidelines are for, for care for animals and stuff like that. So that will show that we're not meeting those guidelines, and that is why we need that, so. That will help, I think.
And another good thing is, as you identify all those needs and whatever, we can show how they're addressed by the plan that was developed. We're reutilizing spaces, we're not, doing a lot of demolition, we're making it better with what's there.
And it's gonna save money, I know it's a lot of money, but because of the way it was built and where those cats are, any kind of stress, having them all in one room, they end up getting sick or everybody gets it, so now you're paying for antibiotics, which, they're not that expensive, but if you're going and because all these sicknesses, you get the first group, you get them better than the next group, you know what I mean? So some of that stuff is gonna save in the long run, you're not gonna see it now, but, costs for stress management and sickness and things like that.
And I think a good statement is also about what you do need to provide per, the regulations and what the obligations of a municipality is to address the needs. That statement about what you actually have to do as a minimum is important, because you can't walk away from that.
Well, it could be statute needs or whatever, the requirements and everything.
Right, so everyone understands what you're starting from, and then what you're going for.
Okay, any further questions or suggestions or anything?
Nope, not for
Once
me.
we have them? Anybody here? Anything more? Okay, well, go ahead.
One of the things that you could also, define would be the history of the shelter. You know, maybe even going back past, or further back from when it was, the newest one was, constructed. You know, how has that served, how has that evolved through the years?
And that's a good idea because it's had quite a history from,
Have there been any large supporters prior to this? As far as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But I was the only one. And as long as we're talking about it, I don't wanna be a wet blanket, but I did a matching grant, a matching gift, challenge in the community. And I don't know how many people I contacted, a lot, personally, by mail, by phone. And, sorry, say it as I have it written. I've been thinking very hard about the whole situation. Okay. I asked many people to donate $500 or $1,000 to build a new shelter and said I would match their donation. I hope to raise 20,000 and actually raised 32. However, of the two wealthiest families I asked in Russ County, only one donated the 1,000 because of their secretary's persuasion, and one did not donate at all. It doesn't encourage me that we have many options of big donors right in our area. That's one thought I have, I'm sorry.
Was that the whole county, Joanne?
Well, it was people that I knew or people that I thought might be willing to give. So yeah, it was just basically our county. I didn't extend, into the other area counties.
It wasn't just like over to one side of the county or the
No.
whole,
Just people I knew that might have money or be willing to give. So if there's definitely other people could, know people that might be willing to give. I did ask my brother-in-law, he doesn't live in this county, but. So,
well, I think a matching program is a good idea. I mean, this one didn't work out the way you wanted it to.
it did. Yeah, I raised more money than I hoped to raise
Oh,
20.
you said 20, you got 30?
And people donated 16 instead of 10, and I matched that, so we got 32,000 out of that.
Okay. Now, if you could add some zeros to those numbers.
Jeez. Yeah.
Okay.
So, any further questions or comments? As long as we have David on here. Anybody? Okay, any final words of wisdom before we let you go?
I know in the fundraising campaigns, they always stress that if you have some of the larger donors, the smaller donors will come forward. But getting that first, larger contributor
Well, we've had
really
it,
helps
we've had it for over a year.
to move the fundraising campaign forward. So that's something to think about. Who might that be, or what might that be? If it's a Walmart or a grant that moves it forward, that's probably, getting that first big dollar
$50,000.
contribution.
Exactly. My mother-in-law died.
Okay, anything else? Anybody?
And if, all during this process, feel free to contact me, to discuss or have ideas. And then as information's available, I can assist.
Okay, thank you for that. If there's nothing else, I guess, thank you, David, for joining us and, giving us your input and everything, and answering questions. It's a lot of work to be done before the walls go up. But given some ideas and everything. Thank you very much.
If I have permission to share, should I send it to Ashley?
Yeah, you can send it to Ashley or me, Terry,
Okay,
everyone, either one. Yeah, yeah.
okay,
Because we work together and I'm the chairman of this committee, so either one will.
okay. All right,
Okay, well, thanks a lot again
yep, thank you.
for joining us. Okay.
Thank you, have a good day.
Yep, thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Killed him. Okay, any further, discussion on that or anything? I think he had some good ideas or something, and with you going on with, you know, that you've started looking into some of this stuff, and you think Walmart's a good.
Yeah, he, like I said, he's.
Is that the
very
manager
helpful.
out here?
He's a new manager, he just, and actually the,
Okay.
someone from corporate stopped by, was it 3 weeks ago? A couple weeks ago, and came in the shelter, said, hey, are you guys set up with Walmart? And I'm like, no. And so he got us all set up, Ashley set up actually, Russ County through the Good Smart, which is Walmart, or Spark, it's the Spark Good grants.
That's what you,
So that's what it took us quite a while to figure it out, but Ashley got the county set up because we're county owned. So then I can go in there as like a second, and then I applied for the grant for the animal shelter through that. So, and then those grants are easy, he's the one who okays them, he puts them in, he okays them, and then they get okayed by somebody else.
yeah,
The other stuff that he can do for us, he'll have to do for Fracas, cause we're not nonprofit.
right.
So, that's as far as I can get with that. So that's some of the stuff, like if the shelter applies, some of these grants only will give to a 501c3, they won't give to a municipality, but there are some that will. So it just depends.
How, well, obviously this one went to the municipality,
Yeah.
yes, you got it,
Yeah.
but how often can you apply for this, at once a
That
year?
I don't know, I'm gonna ask them, cause I think because you can apply for different things, so I have to ask him how many.
Okay, well, and that's coming up here later too, okay. Okay, any other comments on David's comments or anything? A lot to think about.
Yeah.
And it's time consuming, to go
So
through.
we just go and talk to the manager at Walmart or what?
You can either call him or talk to him, I think I have his name written down, I think it's Anthony, but I will double check.
I'll come out and,
Yeah, and I'll look, but he's a really nice guy, so I think that you'd be able to definitely even, sling any kind of fundraising right out in front of the store. I mean, everybody does it over there,
right.
so.
Those don't make money though.
Not a lot.
Does the shelter have Amazon Smile?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay, I think I have that, that was, it
I
wasn't.
don't know if you have to be nonprofit or not.
Yeah, I'll have to look, I'm not, can you guys share? I only have, do you want one, Mary?
We can save them, we can share one.
Somebody can share one. I think it's one.
Okay, moving on, then if there's no further comments or anything on that, I think we'll skip this other agenda item for now. Let's go on to the monthly animal shelter / supposed to be humane officer report.
It's the humans.
I actually can have a comment on the discussions on the options for building.
Oh, okay,
One thing I looked up and I didn't print anything out, but I can if anybody's interested in it is, the discussion from the meeting before, it was talked about the fact that there's not a problem with the ADA because the plans were approved. And that's actually not Correct. Just because the state approves plans does not mean that you meet the ADA requirements. And I believe the county probably has a lawyer, probably should be consulted on that and looked into, but it's the responsibility of the company designing the building and the person building it to make sure that you comply with ADA. The state does not look over that because it's got nothing to do with the state, it's federal legislation.
That's up to, talking with the building inspector, he said the state is human. They do make mistakes, and if they would see it, they would tell you have to correct it.
And again, I don't think the state does because it's a federal.
Right. Not using it for anything else, so the ADA stuff.
So that is something that needs to be considered, and it's not just swept under because the state approved the plan, so.
Okay, we can look into that. I think we are making reasonable accommodations though for people. So I think it's not like they can't get in, and anything like that. Because I went out there and looked at it, and you said you had people in there with wheelchairs before, no problem.
I mean, it doesn't mean it's right, I mean, it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, and your buzzer thing doesn't work.
It worked, well, there's an automatic bell when you come in, but
Right.
sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't,
Well,
so-
when I looked at it, it looked like there could have been some crushed insects up there, so when the door closes like a magnet thing, it doesn't make contact.
Maybe.
I mean, it looked like there was some, you know, with the lights on and stuff like that, so. Okay, anything else on that? Okay, then let's move on to the animal shelter humane officer report.
I don't think I've been in the office.
Oh,
No, there was an addendum for the grant.
oh, yeah. There is, yeah. Okay, there is an addendum.
You wanna do that after, or?
No, we can do that right now. Discussion on that. Yes, we'll go to the addendum right now.
I don't need it.
Okay, the addendum is, because, well, we've already talked about it a little bit. Dawn went out and she talked about the Walmart thing, so why don't you explain Sparky grant?
Okay, so the Spark Good grant is from Walmart, and actually Walmart came to us and said, hey, we can help you with grants, why are you not on here? So we're on there now. So I applied for one and we got the $1,500, through the grant. And that, I wanna say they deposit that directly into, cause Ashley had to do something with payment, it goes right into the account. So, and I told him to make sure that the grant said Russ County Animal Shelter New Building Fund, that it said it right on whatever they were doing, so that when it does go through, that the county knows that that goes into the animal shelter.
The new,
Yeah.
it's not for operations.
Right, no, so, but we have to accept that grant.
And there, right, there's a form you have to fill out.
I filled it out already,
Oh, you did? And
I sent it back to, did you get it? You got it? I sent it back to your guys' office.
Yes.
You did get it?
Yep. Ashley, okay, good.
Okay, she did, okay.
Yes.
So I filled it out correctly?
Yeah, there's a form that if you get a grant or any grant to the county, you have to fill out a form stating you meet certain requirements and it's a part of policy. So I've seen it, but she filled it out and got it done. So in other words, she accepted the grant. We just can't take the money. I mean, it's gotta be a formal process for that. So then that's been done. Okay, now, monthly animal shelter.
So do you guys have to accept this and?
Yeah, we need a motion.
Yeah, motion.
Okay, again, this is the
Good Spark grant,
Good
$1,500.
Spark Good grant from Walmart. I'll indicate it's for $1,500 and it's for the new building fund, or for the building fund, I should
So
say.
you make a motion to accept the.
Spark Good grant from Walmart. Okay, motion's made and seconded, to accept the Spark Good grant from Walmart, the amount of $1,500 for the building fund. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say
guys can look at this, we currently have 37 cats in the shelter, 8 dogs, and then there's 2 cats in foster. And then, remember me talking about the 2 little 12-year-old dachshunds that we had in foster? So somebody surrendered their 2 11 or 12-year-old dachshunds to us a while ago, and they were adopted from us. That's why we took them back. But they were adopted as puppies.
Oh.
They'd been together, but they both had epilepsy. So and it's very stressful there for any animal, and if you have epilepsy, that can encourage seizures, and I was like, I don't wanna come into, a little 10-pound dog that had a seizure that smashed his head on the concrete, or got his leg caught in something and is now like dead, you know what I mean, or been seizuring all night. So, are any of you familiar with Bob's House of Dogs?
Yes.
Okay, so Bob's House of Dogs, they do fostering for old or, ill animals that still are okay but need a home. So they take them and house them, and they put them up for adoption, but they adopt them out for us. So that when they get adopted, they pay our adoption fee, and Bob's House of Dogs sends us all the information on who adopted them, and they send us our fees. So those 2 little dogs got adopted by a couple from Wyoming. They drove all the way up to Wisconsin.
Are you serious?
Yes.
How did they find out?
Probably website, they probably were looking, believe me, we just had a guy drive up from Milwaukee yesterday to adopt our beagle. So we've had people come from Appleton, and, they see him on the website because that's what Pet Finder and Adopt Pet, that's what they do, they throw
Okay.
all that out there. And we also work with a beagle rescue that put Banjo on their website, so I was getting calls from all over the place for that dog.
I can see Milwaukee, but Wyoming, my God.
Well, we have people go to the south all the time to get dogs and bring them back, or adopt them from down south. And
Now, did you say we had the puppies originally, when they're puppies and they adopted?
apparently, I wasn't here, obviously,
Okay.
that was like 11, 12 years ago, but they were adopted from us, and they were adopted young.
So the people who had them turned them
Surrendered
back
them.
because they're
I
old?
no, they didn't do it because they were old, I don't remember what the reason was,
Moving maybe, or?
But
either
the
an illness, something,
Okay,
I don't remember
but,
what it was.
but then if we follow the train of thought here, then that Bob's
Yeah.
house, whatever, put it out, and then somebody in Wyoming saw it and drove all the way here to adopt
They
them.
adopted them, yeah.
Did they call first and make sure they were here yet?
Well, that was through Bob's House of Dogs,
Oh.
so yeah, they seen him, and I'm guessing.
Because they were at Bob's house,
Yes.
had the dogs, so,
Yes.
I mean,
So they
you
took,
didn't
they
have-
took both of them though?
Yes, we weren't gonna separate, they've been
Right.
together since
Right,
they
right.
were, they're already bonded, and they both have epilepsy, they're brothers, so it was like, just take them. But what that did, that opened up a spot, cause we actually have another dog at the shelter that is 10 years old, and she's gonna be going into Bob's House of Dogs. She did get adopted from us, she got sent back a few days later, she just didn't have enough time, the dog was really nervous there and didn't really, but when she came back into the shelter, the dog knows all of it, she's completely fine, and the lady's like, she wasn't acting for me like that. I said, well, it's only been like 4 days, but it happens.
Yeah.
But she's an older dog, she's got a heart murmur, she's got luxating patellas, but she's very, very sweet and very lively, so she's gonna go there next, hopefully, and then that way at least she's with the older dogs.
Where's Bob's house, where are they located?
I think it's in Rice Lake.
They're off of 90, south of Eau Claire, in a rural
Or
kind
they,
of
yeah,
setting.
so,
The shelter sent lots of dogs there.
yeah,
I've
so
adopted a dog from there.
they have a really nice place, Anyways, but Snowball's the next one in line. Alright, so 37 cats, 8 dogs, 2 kitties in foster. We actually have one more. I had a cat come in at like 3:30 yesterday, so there's one extra in there.
One that's
Another
sick.
strain.
The little sick one, yeah. And then, let's see, so we have a ton of kittens. I think we have at least 20 kittens in there.
Somebody's been busy.
Yeah, well, gotta get them off the street. And all these kitties are I think we got 21 cats that are getting spayed and neutered in the next, starting July 3rd. So, those are all
Does
8 weeks.
Purple Vet, do they still do that?
Yes, we take all of our cats there,
They still do that in Eau Claire?
you know.
They haven't come up here, or they don't, again, vet shortage.
So, And Ladysmith Vet is, booked out until, 2025. Can't get any of our animals in there.
Like when 2025, just,
Some people got appointments in February, some people have appointments in March, April, July, depends on the animal they have.
well,
So they can usually get like mail neuters in kinda quick, but, they have such a backup with just community people. I go in there if I I had Snowball done there, the Snowball was not spayed either. And she had a bunch of teeth falling out, so I couldn't take her to a low-cost spay neuter clinic, cause there was too much, stuff to do, it's too much for them to deal with that, but, they got her in for me. But other than that, they can't. They're booked solid, 'cause they only have one vet there now, so. Alright, humane officers, so I didn't get a chance to type anything up, but, so far this year, we dealt with the one vicious dog, that was the one that was supposed to have the meeting. You guys remember that, and then there was a little problem, and then that was that one. I've done 4 bike quarantines, 15 warning letters, 13 citations, 19 complaints, and 7 of them are still, I call it open, because I'm still working with them, and then I just got 3 more that I haven't even started yet.
how many more?
3. That's 10 that I'm still dealing with.
In process. So,
Any questions?
Can I get those numbers from you, emailed to me later on?
Well, you actually already have the list of citations, and you have the list of warning letters. I can give you the numbers, but most of this stuff is not public knowledge, so I can give you the numbers
Okay, sure.
of the quarantines. And then,
Are those cat and dog quarantines or just?
dog. I only had 1 cat quarantine, I think, the whole time I've been, well, no, I only had 1 cat quarantine, and that bit its finger, but they're mostly dogs.
okay, anything else?
I think so, I'm just trying to work on some grants, like I said, it's really hard for me because I get interrupted a lot. But I do have information that I'm gonna give them to help them, and I will try to put something together, I realize that doing a mission statement and a purpose and a tagline has to go through the board, so. Maybe I'll try to put something together and then maybe
Or next,
well, for next time, that's a whole nother month, but maybe I can at least maybe email something and you guys can look at it and be like, no, or say, I like that, but I don't like that, and then at least I can have something working where we can not have to wait another month to have it approved, because until most of these places you apply, they want your mission statement, they want your purpose,
right up front.
and you can't be writing disposal ones, I don't even know what that line was with that, you can't write that. It doesn't sound, it's very unempathetic, it's like, wow, you're just gonna throw it in the trash, what are you doing with them?
Well, it sounded like that's what they did before.
Well, that might be a very old mission statement, I don't know,
If you were talking about,
right,
years ago.
Oh, yeah.
and
I
that
mean,
might
that's
be what
probably-
that
The old
is,
shelter should quite a freezer full of bodies, or
Yeah.
2 freezers.
yeah, so that's gotta be changed, but I think maybe I'll work on it, and then maybe, like I said, if I email you guys can be like, oh, that sounds really good, or no, you need to change that or something, and then that way the next meeting, hopefully we can just be like, you know what, that works, and then it can go to those guys for whatever they're doing, and then it can go on the pamphlets or whatever, and it's good, or we don't have to wait another month to do that. But I think that would help, having a good tagline and a good mission statement and a good, purpose. All lined out, so people know exactly what we're doing, because my understanding is, a lot of people tell me, thinking that we kill everything, and they don't wanna act, like, I asked for help, I'm not asking for help again, cause they didn't help me before, but it's like, I will help, just, you got, if I can't do something, I will find a way, someone else can do it. But,
Okay, anything else, or any other questions for Dawn? Okay, let's move on.
I have a question, okay, now this is very opinionated and I'm sorry about it, but
Not you.
you're gonna run out of time. And so if you run out of time while you're reviewing the bills or doing the budget, that's one thing, but I really need to tell you about, I need to do the Friends of the Animal Shelter report, cause there's two things you really need to know. And so I don't want you to run out of time before you get to
Well,
that.
go ahead, let's do that right now, because
Okay.
we can.
So thanks for letting me butt in line here. First of all is, we got a $22,000 donation from,
Awesome.
a gal who died, and I will say it's through the same person that I was able to get those cages from. She's a friend of mine from the hospital auxiliary, and she had a friend who was a vet, and the vet had the cages, okay, so I worked with Karen and got the cages, and now she had another friend who was very sick, and so she knew that the animal shelter needed some money, so with along with some other groups, we got 22,000, so that was really good. So, the lesson of this is if you're gonna die, please remember the animal shelter, and if you know people that are gonna die, you know, kind of give a hint for the animal shelter, because it's a good way to get some money.
What is it restricted to something?
No, but it's going in ours, it's not going in
Oh, it's
yours.
in fracas,
Yes.
okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
okay.
So,
okay.
It's safe, I'll say it that way.
Yep.
Okay, then, the other thing is, you've probably heard that Ace is having a 4-day tent sale. And they have offered each one of the days to a different nonprofit group to get half, not of the profits, but half of the till. And so I stuck my nose in and got the animal shelter to get Friday. And so if they make $500 at the till, then we get $250. If they make 5,000, we get 2,500. So please, if you wanna go to that tent sale, go on Friday, because the animal shelter gets half.
Is
And
that tomorrow?
That's not tomorrow, it's the
No,
28th,
next week,
the
next week.
28th. Maybe
Thursday, Friday,
June
Saturday, and
28th.
Sunday are the 4 days of the sale. The animal
June
shelter
28th.
has,
The friends.
Friday,
Can
Friday,
you email that to me, and then I can post something on our Facebook page,
okay,
for just saying, hey,
Oh, I can,
you know,
I
half
can,
of the profits.
it's on Facebook, I can share.
Okay, yeah, if you have something on there, yeah, I'll just share it.
okay, good, yeah, so everybody's spending their money on Friday. And then the last thing, yeah, I'll take 10 minutes, is your name Tracy?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Paula, thank you very much for including me on the
You're
email
welcome.
list. Okay, so now you guys can. All that important stuff, yeah,
Okay, you're done?
I'm done.
Okay,
That was fast.
okay, let's take a look at, the next thing is the budget review. Again, this is for 5 months. And again, so, you know, you're roughly half a year. So if you took these numbers and doubled them, for year to date, I mean, you know, if you just scan down there, there's nothing really, the obvious, cleaning supplies, I don't worry about that. I think, the auto and gas and everything like that, because of all the trips and everything, but we may have a solution for that. What, do you remember what the $800 for the, from the gift fund was for?
That's probably for those,
No, but that was last year, wasn't it?
No, I think it was this year, wasn't it, Don? We had the beds. Buggy beds.
remember those beds being that much.
Yeah.
I don't remember them being $880.
Yeah, no, that
I'm gonna
amount.
have to ask.
Check that, okay, on the
It could be
next.
two things though,
Right,
cause it could be the, did I
But-
get the
but-
traps? I got the traps
yeah,
last
but
year.
that,
Last year.
yeah, all of this stuff was last year, I think, and that was 1300.
I can't remember. I can look. I can't remember.
Okay, if you look at the second page, well, again, they all got zero, but they're animal shelter receipts, so we budgeted that we would get in 10,000, we've got in half of that already. And the year's, you know, probably half done. And then shelter donations down there, dropping down the 5-digit number 48,500 to 1143. So that's donations just for operations for the shelter you wanted. Again, I've gotta remember to put on the agenda, well, for next time, mission statement, but we're going to raise the dog taxes. And we gotta get that done because that's going to have to, for next year. Dog taxes. we've gotta raise that because, and we've talked about that before, and I think we've already approved it, to raise it to, I don't know why we did 50 cents before, but it's gonna be like 15 and 10, or 10 and 15, which we wanna look at. But we gotta get that done, because they're going to be starting doing budgets and everything pretty soon. So as you can see here, nothing, again, it's just, in 5 months, nothing glaring. The next one is the building fund. That expense, about roughly 5,500, that would have been for, David and Jim, for the architect's fees and everything, because that's what they were going to do. And then we've gotten in 4,600. Now, we do have the ending balance at 12/31 there, so I put it there, so 15,000. So right now, we spent, say, roughly 2,000 more, so that would be down to 13,000. That's still left in there.
Terry, does that $4,630, that was received, does that include that check? Like, whatever it was, 39 or 33.9 or whatever from my foundation? I think that was received this year.
Is that in there?
It probably, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but it should be, cause that was put in a few months ago, so it should be,
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
March is when I received the info.
it should
I just
be,
wanna know because the last time I donated, I don't know what happened to that check and where it went, so,
it should be in there, cause that's where I put it in the deposit.
okay, thank you.
So again, we would be like at roughly 13,000 right now. Going on the next page, well, Heather, again, this is spay neuter. We've spent $7,000 already of the 12,000 we had budgeted. We've gotten in donations, well, we said we would get in 9,500, we've got 3,700 so far. So again, just figure, looking at, I'm just doing a rough figure, $4,000 deficit, and the fund balance started out at 30, so we would be at roughly 26,000 right now. Again, that's just a rough thing. And then the last one is, gift fund donations. We've gotten in $1,300, and the fund balance carried forward from last year's 8,200, 82,000. So I'll add another 1,000, 2,000. Again, you see on these things for Randy, cause he's new, the levy is 0 on these last 3 items we did, because it does not affect the taxes at all. These are special funds set up, whereas the operations affect the taxes.
Did you hear how much Mary made for the plant sale?
I haven't gotten anything, I don't think so, so I do not know.
Any questions on that?
The
Okay,
whole thing,
what?
I got one question about the first page. I'm looking at the animal shelter telephone expense of $2,200. What is the phone out there? What is the $200?
What is the last 3 digits of the account number?
225.
Okay, and your question is,
What is it,
What is it, what do they have out there for a telephone that's $200 a month?
We have, Starlink
Starlink.
is $120 a month.
Oh, so
That's
that's
the only
actually,
phone bill I know of, and
Well,
Starlink's actually internet though, right?
it is, but that, I think, is how our phone
it's charged.
set up.
Two-thing, phone and internet both?
Yeah, and I the only phone bill, like, my cell phone, my work cell phone, I think is $63, but I don't know if that's included in that, but
That would be in there.
Starlink is $120 a month,
Okay.
so that must compute to, that would be what, $1,200 a year, so I don't know,
Well, more than that.
probably more.
But,
It seems like that should be classified as internet. But-
well, that's just arguing over a line.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but I was curious, like.
On my, when I pay these bills, on my line, there's actually, it says internet telephone.
Okay.
I don't know why it doesn't say it on here, but on my little sheet, you know, when I do my deposits and stuff like that, or pay the bills, it says internet/telephone.
Okay.
Wasn't Bugs out there and did something, so you're hooked up with something different here now, or did something? Okay, and I think
No one told me.
the, you all know where the animal shelter is, on the other side of the road is fiber.
Mhm.
But supposedly it costs, what, $20,000 to bore under the road to hook them up to fiber. But somebody else said, that's absolutely ridiculous, that's what, Brightspeed would charge or something like that. They said you can just bore right under the road and cost maybe $1,000 or something, just. to
Yeah,
go
so our
under.
phones aren't like the greatest stuff, like we don't even have, I just have a phone if I'm on the phone and someone's calling, I can't put anybody, if they just have to go to message, like we don't have, we can't push the button, put them on hold. And sometimes our phones don't work because of that, because
Well,
of
with
whatever's
that-
going on with the internet.
With that internet service, you should be able to get an IP telephone service without going through the phone company.
No, but it has to be connected back here, and that's what you had a lot of trouble with, connecting back here or sending anything or getting messages from here out there to you. They couldn't. I know they've been working on that ever since you've been here.
It's been like that forever.
I'm not a phone person, so I don't know.
It's, but, I mean, I don't understand why, when you got fiber just across the road there, what is it, P, on the other side, why it costs $20,000 to use the road.
I'm not aware of any residential or small business fiber service available in Lake Smith. Usually it's quite expensive.
Oh, no, they've been, Brightspeed's been hooking up a lot of fiber to
Really?
things in Ladysmith, yeah. Well, again, remember, you're dealing with Brightspeed.
That's the old Century Tel, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Never change these names though.
I mean, it would be nice if our stuff was a little bit better out there, but I don't know why it's
At
not.
least you've got it,
I do have it.
which you didn't have before.
We don't use smoke signals, the old days.
We just referred to Brightspeed. Yes.
Oh, good one.
So I
Okay.
guess I have one other question.
Okay, go ahead.
You were talking about the car,
Yep.
right, the maintenance. Since that's a third of the year and it's already 50% of the budget, what process?
Well, it's five months, almost.
This is April 2nd.
No, that date is wrong, that's been on there for the whole year.
Oh,
That's something from Russ County, there.
Okay,
Yeah, no, this is for 5 months.
okay.
No,
But once that goes over the 2,000, what happens? Does it comes from a different section of the budget or?
no, it just goes over,
Okay.
and then it shows a deficit, but then it's offset on another line.
Hmm.
And at the end of the year, if you're more than 10% over what was the budgeted amount, then there's a whole transfer stuff that has to,
Okay.
but that's a county thing.
Sure.
But,
And that might have to be raised, not because of driving, but that, that also includes tires and oil changes and gas, and when we got that vehicle, like almost immediately, cause we traded that vehicle from maintenance with the truck that we had. And that vehicle had been sitting out at the airport for a while, so we had to get, I don't know if we got all 4 new tires, but when we took it in to have them look at it and check everything out, I think we had a light bulb out, we had to get tires, so some of that, that was from last year too, but there
Yeah.
are.
well, and I think what we're going to do is, most of this expense again is running back and forth through Neilsville to have the spay neuter done.
Claire.
I think we're going to, that is a spay neuter expense. So I think we may start putting this stuff and charge the spay neuter fund, because that's part of the spay neuter expense, really. So we may be taking it out of here because, and then of course, we'd be way under, but again,
That would cut then, wouldn't it?
what?
Then that wouldn't, if you're way under, wouldn't the budget, and it's made up, would they possibly cut that back then?
Well, you'd have to look at it again when you do next year's budget to look at it. But again, that running back and forth to Neilsville or Eau Claire or wherever, that is really for spay neuter, and that should be part of that expense, so that could come out of that other account.
If you're not spaying and neutering, it's not an option. I'm not sending any animals out pregnant.
Yeah.
No way.
Maybe does the gas charge that to the spay neuter then?
Well, I think they charge the mileage, it's based on
The
the
mileage,
mileage
yeah.
thing. And-
I don't know, I don't really know how that works with how we would.
But-
Because, that general fund, cause we weren't doing that general fund for a while, this shelter donations here, we just started doing this again. When was it?
Last year.
Last year, so this money here From my understanding, basically, this would cover anything that goes over, so it doesn't have to be taken out of like the gift fund or something. So if I go over on like veterinary expenses or food, you know, gas, I mean, this is kind of a buffer.
It
You know
just
what I mean?
offsets
So,
all the other
It's
expenses.
the general, it's the animal shelter
It's the
donation.
general.
What number is that?
48500. But that's my understanding of what that general fund is to help, you know, offset. I don't know what
It
it's not, but,
it offsets just the expenses above, it's not a
Right.
specific line item, it just offsets operations expense.
and it shouldn't be too bad this year, I mean, I just, but last year we took in over 50 cats from the city of Ladysmith, that were feral, semi-feral, so that was, you know, a lot, but they can't stay there, obviously, they just keep reproducing. And we had a lot of injured animals, sick, you know, we had a lot of stuff going on, so that kind of raised it. I mean, there's still stray cats in the state of Ladysmith, but there's not unchecked colonies anymore, the one colony is completely gone. The other one's very small and it is being checked, but it's all. Is it 8th Street maybe? I'm not 100% sure. I have to look.
East or? Over where Michelle?
No, opposite.
North.
North, I
Oh,
think.
north, okay.
Yeah, but there's, so, there was a lot going on last year trying to clean up a bunch of, you know, messes that were just causing issues, so we've had a lot less of that coming in, but obviously there's more out there, we get calls all the time, but we have an organization that does help us, with some of the other feral colonies are actually on people's property, they're not in the city, and those ones are fine, because those people are, the other rescue traps them, fixes them, they pay them, or we find someone to help pay them, like the Fixes In, to help pay some of these, but they take them back, and they have, you know, stuff for them, shelter, food, water, they're taken, you know, care of, but, so.
Did someone get in touch with you about getting a barn cat? I saw something on Facebook where somebody was looking for barn cat.
I didn't even look at the computer this morning, so I have
It
no
was a couple
idea,
days
we've
ago.
got like 3 cats up right now, 2 of them aren't fixed yet, but 1 of them is, that would be good for barn cats.
When I saw that, I thought of
Yeah.
shelter right away.
So, I didn't see it, but it doesn't mean, if Nicole saw it, she would probably.
Okay, let's move on, any other questions about the budgets? Okay, review the bill, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bill.
Well, I have a question for the Clark County Humane Society, what, looks like there's more on that, and then on the purple cat, just what's showing on here.
What do you mean more?
Well, like 5 dogs, 5 dog space, 2 neuters, 8 rabies, e-collar, what, the one after that?
One, maybe it probably didn't print,
It's limited.
would have been a cat spay.
Okay, what about the purple cat vet? Is that your mites?
Yes. They treated the cats for ear mites, and they know we treat them ourselves, and they did it anyway, so I had to.
Oh,
They forgot, so I couldn't just be like, no, I'm not paying you for that, but she apologized and.
Any questions on the bills? I'll entertain a motion to approve the bill. The motions have made and seconded to approve the bills. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same, say no. Motion carried. Okay, our next meeting date is July 18th at 8:30. That's it, like that, I will, now you don't need a motion to adjourn the meeting. So I will just say, we are now adjourned. Thank you all at 9:24. Thank you all for coming. And then, like I say, there's a county board meeting coming up in here like at 10 o'clock, so we will.
You said you weren't sure about that, the Verizon wireless is on
Yeah, and it looks like it's separate, but I don't know, because the internet's only $120 a month, so I don't know if there's other, cause that's the only thing, that's the only bill that I get.
You are
Together.
Well, and
business phone.
that business phone, I don't get that bill, that goes, I guess IT has all the cell phones, they do all that, so I don't get that bill.
But it gets charged.
But it gets charged to us, yeah.
Whatever, kind of Fourth of July in Bozo.
Cutting a ribbon.
Okay.
At your garden.
And out of here, like you say, there's a county board meeting starting at 10.
I guess they
so
shut
we're
it down
adjourned.
and now they have something
Okay.
called Raise Right.
Sweeten us out, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we gotta,
Terry, do you remember at
now you
all
just
what
talk about
we were
the-
kind of
jail?
thinking that was gonna be given out of the building, I'm sorry, the gift fund for new
So
buildings?
Raise Right
Was it like
is what
50 we were
Yeah.
the
thinking?
Amazon now. So I have a friend.
but we never decided on anything.
Right, I know we didn't decide.
Who I
Wait,
grew up
just-
with, and her dad was a
Curious.
coach in my high school. Okay, so I grew up with her.
You're coming back here,
And,
yeah.
she, her,
I gotta walk
her and her
around.
husband
Oh,
had a
no.
business, and she was
So they're going to use it for the next year. I've already gone over that. Thanks.
Yeah, we're getting your parts broken or replaced. That's my problem.
And we support that program. That is the one thing that we get.
Thank you.
I've known Michelle most,
Cause they wouldn't
you know,
like it
most
if
of
they
my
said,
life, so,
I'll
taught my
get you
kids
next
how to
year.
swim.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
Buddy?
so anyways,
Tomorrow,
so,
huh?
and she.
Yeah.
Oh, man, probably call me back the next
And
guy.
then you call me
Not,
back and
well,
then
not even a lot of money